Okay, hi everyone. So in this video, I'm going to carry on the previous task where we had started adding a new form or new view for adding information of new student. And now I'm going to do update. I'm going to show you how you can edit current student information. So in order to do this, let's copy add student because mostly the form is just same. The view is just same. So just copy and then again paste inside the same folder. So I'm gonna get a copy for add student view. And then what you need to do, go and change the name, let's say update student. Okay, perfect. Now we go into update student and let's just do some amendment. So here I need to update student and here also update. And I'm gonna keep this button where I just gonna show, send the user to get the list of the students. And I think the rest should be just same. Now let's go or move to the controller and add a new action. So I'm going to add public action result and then update student. And by the way, we're going to have again two actions like what we had earlier in add student. So you can also copy paste, would be fine as well. Now for update student, actually we may request some additional information for the get method, right? So here we can have HTTP get. As I said, this is by default, either if you add or not, doesn't matter. But here in order to update or to show, because the first step I'm going to show information about a selected user. Okay, so when we go to here, we're supposed to have button added beside each student, right? Where I can edit or update his or her information, right? So when I click the button, let's say I have button here, then it should navigate me to update view along with the selected student information displayed in there, right? So if I select to update this record, so that means update view should show information about the student. If I click the button in here, so the corresponding student should be shown already, right, inside the update view. So how to do this? So in other words, I need to capture the ID. Every time I click the button, I need to know which student has been selected to update. So in order to do this, I'm gonna here add integer ID. And I'm gonna keep this as, it might be null, for example, but actually it's supposed to be not. So that means there must be some ID passed along. Okay, but let's keep this for the moment. And now what we can do, we can also check if ID equal null, right? Then we can return, let's say, not found. That means there's no information passed for the ID that we wish to update. Otherwise, what we need to do, then we're gonna do retrieve the information about that particular student. So in this case, I'm gonna have var student, then equal. Yeah, before that, I need to establish connection. Then using var db equal new attend context. Then we need to have var student equal db dot students dot where, right? S, now I'm using lambda expression where s dot id for that student equal the ID I have in here. And finally, I need to have single, let's say, or default, if in case the ID doesn't exist. After this, since the ID might not exist inside the database, then let's carry out further checking or validation to ensure that I already has really got information about a particular student. So if student equal null, that means I got nothing, then also let's just return not found. Otherwise, I'm going to return to the view, update student, and then I'm going to pass along the student information, okay? Let's check this one, but in order to be able to check, let's go back to show students and we need to add a button for update, right? So for this, I'm gonna add another column inside the header for this table. For now, I'm gonna just keep it empty, let's say. And then here, when I come to the TD, I'm going to add, let's say, a button for in order to update the information for the current student. Okay, so I'm gonna say here, let's say update, and I need, of course, to specify the controller. So I'm gonna use the tag helper student, and then ASP action is update student, right or not? And one more thing, we need the ID, right? As you see here, the function requires the ID for the current student, or for the student that is selected to have his information or her information updated. So I need to pass the ID. How can I pass the ID? The ID is going to be here, right? But how can I pass it along when I'm calling this function? I'm going to still use tag helper. See how. Okay, so I'm going to use ASP-route and then dash. You need to provide the argument name. So the argument name I have is ID, right? It's not student ID, it's just ID. Then I type here ID, and then equal, I just can pass student dot ID. You see how simple? Okay, it is as simple as that. So let's check now, but I don't want to have it as a hyperlink. So let me just specify the class is button, and let's say this is button primary. Okay, perfect. So let's now check and see how our screen is gonna look like. Okay, perfect. So now we got update button along for each user. And notice down here, when I put the cursor back on the button, okay, how the ID is changing along, right? So let's click update for this one. And you see I got information corresponding for the selected student. Let's go back and let's say click on this. Then I got information for the selected user or student, and so on. Okay, very good. Now we need to work on the update student, because currently I think it's not pointing to anywhere. Let's check update student. Okay, so it's still pointing, okay, nothing. So yeah, it's gonna go to update student again, right? So it's not gonna work. And then we are having post method, so we need to provide post method for that. So let's go to the controller, and then here what we can do, we can copy again, but this time what we're gonna have is HTTP post, right? And then here we're gonna get student, right? Same idea. You may do some checking like as we have done earlier. I think we didn't have any validation yet in here. Okay, maybe later I'm gonna show you how you can add some validation along the way. Okay, for now, assuming everything is just fine, I'm not gonna really inspect any validation for now. So let me just do, so we need to establish connection. Okay, then what we need to do, we need to remember this time is not add, is you need to do update. And then you need to pass the entity, the student. Same like as we done earlier in add new student, we need to save changes. Otherwise, nothing gonna affect the database. And finally, after I update the information about the student, I need to send the user back to the list of student. So we can use return, redirect to action. And then I'm gonna specify here, show students. Okay, let's run and see whether this is working as it's supposed to do. Okay, let me go back here. Okay, and let's say that, let's go back first to the list just to ensure that the changes has already been applied to the application. And now let's go to this student, lim3. I'm gonna make him lim4, for example, just to see the impact. Update student, and perfect, right? Let's say this person, I need to update, let's say his name. So I'm gonna write here SS, and then again update, and perfect. Okay, so this is how, as you see, we can add update into our application. So, and how we can here, we're able to create the button, right? And then the button should indicate referring to the corresponding student.